So last session we discussed about working with CSS 2D and 3D transformations, right? So we learned about the basic CSS 2D and 3D transforms. CSS 2D transforms in that we learned about how to use the options like translate and right. So in the CSS, we're done with the responsive web design, right? So in this, we have seen how to use the CSS 2D transformations. So we have the option like scale. So, and we have the option like translate, how to deal with them. One more important, we have the option rotate. So I will give you the options how to use them. So detailed notes I will upload into that option, right? Rotate also I showed you. So rotate based on specified degrees. So you can rotate the option. So this is the example we tried. Right. So what are the options for transforming? So we learned about these points technically. So what are those points? So we have seen how to use the options. One is translate. Translate is for changing the position along X and Y axis. So it is for changing the position along X and Y axis. And we learned about scale. So scale is for changing the height and width. And we saw rotate. How do we rotate? So based on specific degrees, clockwise, counterclockwise, how to manage that. And one more option is there, skew. Skew. Actually, it is used for tilting image. You can tilt the tilting element. Actually, you can tilt the element by specified angle. Generally, skew is used with skew. Also have same options like we have skew X. So we have like skew Y, and it uses an angle for tilting the content. For example, so you saw the rotate option defined here. So rotate is rotating that particular content. Yeah. So rotate is rotating the content. So it is rotating that content here. Now we have an option skew. Skew is for tilting the content actually. So generally how you manage that is here I am giving skew. Skew means tilt. So skew X, skew Y. Suppose I said skew X 60 degree. 60 degree it has to skew. Skew is nothing but when mouse is over, it will tilt like this. It will tilt the image like this. This is tilting the image. So if I say minus 60 degrees, it will be in opposite direction. It will be tilting in this direction. So you can tilt x-axis, you can tilt y-axis. Skew is tilting y, that will be in this direction. It will be tilting in that direction. You can give both the options. So 60 degree and 30 degree. So like this skew X and Y, it will be both directions. It will be skewing in this direction and it will be displaying like this. Skew is nothing but just tilting. So we have to tilt the options and we need to configure. So these are all the transform methods. Finally, what are the transform methods? We are having transform methods. So many are there. So we have translate, translate, translate. We have translate X, translate X, translate X. So we have translate, translate Y. So Y. So we have scale, scale X, scale. We have scale X, scale X. We have scale Y, scale Y. So we have rotate, rotate. So again we have a rotate, rotate X. So we have rotate Y, rotate Y. And we have skew, and we have skew and skew X, skew X and skew Y, skew Y. These are the options we have. Now all, if you want combinations, that means I want a combination of transform, I want a combination of translate and scale. I want a combination of rotate, skews like this. In that case, you can use a matrix method. Actually, matrix uses a combination. So all you can apply for single element by using matrix. For matrix, actually, matrix method uses the options like this. First, it will use scale X, scale X. After that, it will use skew Y. This is order, remember this. So then skew X, skew X. After that, scale Y, scale Y. That is the order. And it will use translate, translate X, translate X. So it will have translate, translate Y, translate Y. That is the combination actually. That is the combination. That means you have to define the combination like this. The order is very important. First scale X. Suppose you see I'm defining matrix now. I'm defining matrix. In the matrix, suppose I defined the first value as 0.5. So the first value is 0.5. And other values, so is 0, another is 0, another is 0, so another is some 100, so 100 like this. Actually, what are these points? These points are nothing but, first one is scale X, this is scale X. Second one is QY, this is QY. And this is QX, this is QX. And next one is scale Y, scale Y. Then translate X, translate Y, translate X, translate Y. So that means we have to define the combination in this way. Remember, according to the situation, it should have that, right? So the same thing I need to apply for other. Currently, already it is at some 100 position. So we will apply different effects here. So let's keep this at the normal position. That means we will keep this at the normal position. So I will remove this all logic. I will just keep you a simple example to understand for that. So here I'm just adding a div. So ID as some div 1. And here I am writing as a matrix demo. Matrix demo. Okay. And here we need to apply the matrix. So that means, so wherever the div is there, some width is equal to some 300 pixel and the height is equal to 100 pixel and the background color is equal to some yellow. Background color is yellow. Okay. And the border as 2 pixel solid and red color. And here I'm defining for this div. So we will access that hash div1 ID. Now we will keep a transform for this, transform, and we will apply matrix. That means the div that is having the div1 is the ID. I will give div1 as ID for this. Now the matrix, so we need to apply here. So 0.5, okay, and 0 and 0 and 1.5. That is scale x, scale y. This is qx and sqy. And after that, I am defining. So 200 and 200. Change its location. That's what we are giving the transformation. So that is the transformation here. So you can see the transform will come to that location. And currently I just given that attribute. So if I apply on hover, what to do? So that means on hover, it can change to that position and up. Here it is using all the combinations. Its size is adjusted, so its combination is changing. Actually, suppose, so the div is having the height. So we write hover, like hover. Now, usually when you configure that hover, on hover, it will change that. It will get to that position and it will display. It is doing all the work. It is having all the options. So here I will give option like transition. Transition is 2 seconds. So it will take transition time 2 seconds to change into it. So, and again transition. So again transition, and I given as 2 seconds back transition. And you can see that it will be in this way. On mouse over, and it will be in normal. That means we are changing the position, we are adjusting the height and width. We are doing two works here. So this is the matrix. We can even skew by any degree, how many degrees you want to skew. So we can apply all the effects together. By using this transform, we can configure them all together. So this is generally how we apply the transformations. So this is an example for matrix. So how we define the matrix. So this is generally 2D, how we can apply the 2D transforms. Along X and Y axis, we have to define all these. These are all under the 2D transforms. The same available in 3D transforms also. The same available in 3D transforms. Only the point is 3D transforms have additional Z axis actually. Z axis. 3D have Z axis. So that means a third dimension will be available. Due to that Z axis, so you can see like a 3D effect. That means generally third axis means nothing but usually what happens is we have an object. So we have an object here, and usually it is currently moving along two axes only. It is currently moving along two axes. Suppose we have this X axis, this is Y axis, and this is X axis. It is moving along only these two only. Now extra, you will have one option, that is extra, you will have a Z axis actually, like this. You will have a Z axis. Now, if you have the Z axis, then objects looks like three-dimensional. If you have that Z axis, this object looks like 3 dimensions. That means usually you will have a Z axis like this. Then actual what happens is, so we have an image, means suppose we have some element here. This is the element. Suppose I will keep it in a better way here. See, so we have an element here. So we have that element. And when we keep this element here, see, this is element. When it moves along Z axis, that means it will be behind it. It will come in this way. Now, usually what happens is this is the Z position. So object looks like it came forward to the screen. This is the 3D effect actually. These kind of animation effects are very important. So especially to do some graphic like things on the screen. But remember, to understand this 3D, your content also should be reasonable. Then only you can handle it. Otherwise, you cannot. I will show you. So here, 3D related options, again, we have same. What you have is all options are similar. Like we have translate 3D. It will use x-axis, translate x, translate y, and translate z-axis. So just the same options that you have seen in 2D, just they will have with 3D. Here we have to mention the third dimension. Earlier we have to just define x and y axis. Now we have to define the third dimension. So to design and watch such things, so you need content also similar. Let's put content similar. That means let's put the content in a correct way. Suppose here I have just a heading 3D transform. So here I am adding a div and let's put the class as container. Okay. In this div, so I am adding an image. So image class as some transform effect. So that is the class I defined. Okay. And image have source. So from images, some speaker.jpg. Okay, that is the image. Just we kept an image here. So that is a simple image is here. Okay. Now to understand 3D, so the content also should be reasonable. I will show you that. What I will do now is, so this speaker is kept inside a container div. Then I will use that container. So for container, so width is 100 pixel and height also 100 pixel. Okay, width and height 100 pixel for the container, and the border as some 5 pixel. So solid, some dark cyan. Okay, that is the border. And the background, container background image, I will keep the same image. So in images, so we have, so in images we have speaker.jpg. That is the background image uses an URL, right? So background image URL. So we are using that URL. Okay, that is the path. Fine. So it will have background image, and I don't want the background height width to be abnormal. So I will put here background size. Background size 100 pixel according to the height and width. And the background repeat, you know that background repeat, no repeat. I will not repeat the background. So margin some 20 pixel I define. This is the container. Okay, inside the container we have an image. I will keep that image also. So width as 100 pixel and height also 100 pixel and the border as 1 pixel solid and dark cyan. Okay, and here I am defining the opacity. For the image, we will keep transparency. I want image transparent, then opacity you can give. Opacity you can give maximum 1. So 0 to 1. I given 0 to 8, 0.8. That is the opacity, transparency. So like this we have. Actually, you have a container and an image. Okay. For this image, I given transform effect class. So I will use transform effect. That is the class. Okay. What should happen is transform, translate 3D this time. X-axis, Y-axis. So 0 pixel, and 0 pixel. 0 pixel, 0 pixel, and 0 pixel, 3. So because it is initial stage, and the transition, so 2 seconds. I given transition 2 seconds. Okay. When mouse is over, that means transform effect hover. When mouse is over, I will use transform. So transform, I will use transform form. Okay, transform. This time I will use translate 3D. Translate 3D. So I'm giving 25 pixels x-axis, 25 pixels y-axis, and 100 pixels z-axis. Third dimension I have given. And the transform, transition I given as 2 seconds. Now you see now the third axis also there. So now when I move the mouse onto this, you can see the image comes in this way. It looks like 3 dimension. It looks like image came outside the page. But actually that is the third dimension of that image. So Z axis is being used for it. It looks like a 3-dimensional effect, We can keep shadows, we can keep several contents according to our requirement, right? So this is 3-dimensional. So that means you have seen only x-axis, y-axis. Now you have a z-axis. How much that you decide? That means suppose I say 50 pixel. That means z-axis will be only 50 pixel. Right? So suppose I defined here as 20 pixel, and the z-axis will be only 20 pixel. So the axis will change here. So that you have to define how many pixels you want from X, Y, and Z. This will make a good transform effect. So this is how you can use the translate. Translate is changing its position, but you have one extra position now. Z-axis position also you can define. So by using Z-axis position, you can change its position from the current, and you can keep it move on Z-axis also. Similarly, you have rotate also. That means same like transform. So translate. You have rotate. Rotate also 3D. So rotate 3D, we have to define X, so Y, Z, and we have to give angle. So rotate X, how many, Y, how many, and we have to define Z. So that means the same concept. That means degrees, how many degrees it has to rotate. So that means x-axis, y-axis, and rotate. And how you manage this, that means how we can handle this. So let's see one example. Suppose, so same, I will change this instead of translate. So I will say rotate 3D. I'm using rotate 3D. And in the rotate 3D, so you have 3 options to define actually. So what are the 3 options to define? So in rotate 3D, so we have to define angle. So 0 angle. So I defined that 0. So X, Y, Z. And we need to define degree. That is also 0 degree. Initially all are 0. Now when mouse is over, then we have rotate 3D. On rotate 3D, we will define, suppose I am giving 0, 0, 0, and suppose 180 degree. So I am giving like this. So that means I am not defining the other options. I just given 180 degree. It will not show any effect on that. It is not going to define any effect or display effect on that. You need to change, you have to tell. So this is just the how many degrees to rotate, but you have to mention the other dimensions also. So it means how much the other dimensions. Suppose I defined rotate, this is 2. That means, so when I define 2, then you can see that this will be in y-axis, it will be rotating. it will be rotating in this way. So here I defined some 1. That means it will define in that direction. It will define in that direction. So the angles are very important here to define. Suppose I given this is the transform direction. So that means it uses so x, y, z, and I given x as 1, or suppose x I defined as some 2. So I want this to 2, and y is not there. Z, so third dimension is not working. If you have seen, I will use z as 1. That means now you can see that. So it will be in this direction. It will be rotating in the 3 dimension here, 3D. That means it will look like it is coming out of that area. It looks like it is coming out of that area and displaying. So this is rotating on Z axis. Otherwise, it will be rotating only X axis or Y axis. You have to define the angles. We have to define the angle. That means in which direction it has to rotate. How many points it has to rotate. So actually this is 2, 1, 0. Actually X, Y, Z. This is fractions. So X fraction how much? Y fraction how much? Z fraction how much? Based on the current angle actually. These are fractions. So for the current angle, based on the current angle, X how many fractions? 1 fraction X, 2 fraction X. So 3 fraction X. Like this you can define the fractions for that. So usually the fractions you are configuring. So depending on this degree, how many degrees you are defining, based on that, so fractions it will define. That means 180 degree, you can see that will display in this way. That means it will be in that direction, X axis, and along the Y axis also. So this is rotating the 3 dimensional. Same you can use for others. You can use even scale 3D. Scale 3D, that means height, width can be adjusted. So scale 3D can be defined. And usually scale 3D contains, so what are the options for scale? Scale 3D same, it will contain X axis, Y axis, Z axis. It is just only height and width. It is only height and width. So it contains only these options. So suppose I change this now. Instead of rotate, I am writing scale. Scale 3D, same scale, and all are 1, 1, 1. X, Y, Z axis all are 1, 1, 1. And scale 3D. And this is 1.5. So, and 1.5 Y axis, 1.5 Z axis. So 1 times, 2 times. So I already told you scale uses the fractions of the time. Now you see it will zoom like this. It will come out of that here. That means X axis is width, Y axis is height, and Z axis is its position. Its position came out of it. Its position came out of it. That is the X axis position. Usually, so we can add this on various options. For example, I am copying the images. I am copying the images. Every image is having the transform. So that means I defined as Nike. So here we have some shoe. Okay, here we have some shirt. Here we have some shoe one. So shoe 1. And here we have like earpods or something else. We have some jeans. Okay. So all these options are configured now. And you see here, what I am doing is I will keep all this content. So in a marquee. So all this content in a marquee. So all the content in a marquee. Actually, so only one image background is enough. We kept in a marquee. That means the content will be scrolling like this. Will be scrolling like this. And when I move the mouse onto it, those images will be zooming here. So you can see that when I move the mouse onto it, the image will be zooming. the image will be zooming. So that means it comes out of that index position and display. But very important is, so it comes out of the index. Actually, we can also do one thing. For mark you, on mouse over, on mouse over. Actually, it is JavaScript. I'm just showing you. On mouse over, this dot stop. That means mark you will stop. And on mouse out, on mouse out. So this dot start. That means mark you will start. So this makes the mark you. It is scrolling. It makes the mark you. When I move the mouse onto it, that means it makes the mark you pause and display that image, zoom. And move again, it is moving again. It makes the image zoom. It is coming out of that angle, that is Z-axis makes that come out of it. Z-axis is making it come out of it and display. So that is what actually Z-axis is. That means a scale, how you can manage the scale, how you can adjust the scale. So that is adjusting the height and width along x-axis, y-axis and z-axis. So here additionally, just simply I used JavaScript events, mouse over, mouse out. Usually we use these mouse over, mouse out options. Technically, generally we use them. So while working with JavaScript mouse interactions. So this dot stop is nothing but it will stop the current animation, mark you animation. And this start will again resume that animation. So this is 3D, how you can define the 3D scale, how we can configure the scale. Right? So we have 3D also same things. What are the 3D options we have? Same like this. We have, so we have translate 3D. We have scale 3D, we have rotate 3D, we have skew 3D. So that means you can also use the same options for 3D. So what you have used for general 2D, 3D, only one extra option here will be Z dimension, Z axis dimension, right? So this is 3D effect, but to observe the 3D, you need to keep the content correctly. If you put only one element and try these 3D effects, you will not feel the difference. So that is the reason we need some background picture. We need some transparency for background. We need some foreground picture. Then you can easily understand the difference actually. Otherwise, it will be working, but you are not sure that it is 3D or not. That is the reason we need a combination for that. These are all CSS 2D and 3D transforms, how we can deal with the transforms. So next important in the CSS we have, all these examples I will give you, right? Next important, so in CSS, we need to understand about CSS transition. So after understanding the transform, so we have transition. Transform have 2D transforms, 3D transforms. Transition is actually, technically speaking, it is transition is a module of CSS. It is a module of CSS. Actually, module means in our UI language, in UI technologies and front end and full stack technologies, usually module is a collection of several components. So it's a collection of several components. So module contains set of properties and methods. It is just like a class in object-oriented programming. It's a module. So this module, actually what is transition is, it allows to configure, it configures the transition, it configures the transition between the initial and final state. Initial and final state actually. That means in initial state, how the object should be, and the final state, how the object should be. that you done in transform, but when the initial state should start and after how much time it should end, all this is defined by using this transition. That means you can control the behavior by using so many effects. Actually, transition provides so several things. Transition provides timing, transition provides duration, and also other attributes. So transition comprises of several properties. Actually, what are the transition properties? We just use a transition, only one option you have seen, but transition is shorthand. Actually, shorthand, that means all options you can define in transition, but actually we have transition delay. So we have transition duration, and we have transition property, and we also have transition timing function. We have transition timing function. What are these? I will show you. What is transition delay, and what is transition duration, and what is transition property, and what are the transition timing functions? We will see. Actually, so here we applied just transition in a shorthand way. Actually, transition will have these things: transition delay, duration, property, and function. What is delay? What is transition delay? So how this transition delay works? So let's see one example. Transition delay, transition duration, how it works. One simple example we will see. Let's see. So to understand this, I am creating another page. Let's add another file. So transition.html. Okay, let's see what actually transition is. That means what transition provides. What are the options for transition? Actually, suppose I will keep here a simple doc type. Yeah, and HTML and head. Okay, and head, fine. And the board inside the head, we will keep the styles later. So body. Okay, here I'm just using. So here I'm defining just a div, and let's keep the div class. Yeah, let's keep this div class here. So div class as, suppose section. Section is the div class, and we will add some another div inside it, then put the class as box. So I'm adding a div. Class as some box. Okay. So inside that, let's keep some content here. So let's add that as text effects. So we are just defining some text effects. Okay. So this is the general content. So we will add the effects here in the head section. I am defining the style for that. I am configuring the style for this. So let's create. So what we have is Section. I'm just defining the section. So we will keep a style. And let's add the section. Okay, so for this we will keep section. So in the section, height and width some pixels. So height, so as some 150 pixel, and width as some 300 pixel, some 300 pixel, like this, height and width for that section. Okay, and the box I'm giving some options here. The box I'm defining the options here. So let's put the class box, and for box, what effects you want. So I want to define width as 100 pixels. Okay, and we have to configure the height. Yeah, let's keep the height. Yeah, let's add the height here. Height as also 100 pixel, and put a background color as red, something like this. Okay, and we say color some white. Okay, and here I define some font size as 20 pixel. Okay, and its position, so we will keep the position absolute. So position I defined as absolute position. Then we will give left as 0 pixel. So okay, and you have top also 0 pixel. So top I defined 0 pixel. 0 pixel. Okay. Now this is the position, and here I will give as a transition duration is 2 seconds. Transition, so transition duration is 2 seconds. Duration is 2 seconds. Transition duration is 2 seconds. That means what is duration and what is the delay? I will show you now. It is 2 seconds. Okay, and the transition delay. So transition delay I defined as, suppose, so 4 seconds. 4 seconds the transition delay. What is duration and what is delay? I will give here. This is initial state. 2 seconds I will give. Okay, what is I will show you the difference. What is duration and what is delay? Actually, duration means how much time it have to take to complete the effect. How much time it has to take to complete the effect, that is duration. Delay means how much time it has to wait in order to start or end the animation. That means, do you want to start animation immediately or you want to delay? So that means, for example, suppose we have picture. So the point is, suppose I have an option. Suppose I have an oval. Now this is my mouse pointer. On I written hover. Generally, when you write hover, what will happen? When you move the mouse onto it, immediately it will start moving. But no, I don't want immediately. When mouse pointer is moved onto it, I want to wait for 2-3 seconds. After 2-3 seconds, it should start. That means animation should not start immediately. It should start. It should start. So after few seconds. So it should not start immediately. That is delay. You can see that now. Suppose this is the box. Okay. I'm writing here. So the same box. And this time, so when box is hover, that means mouse is over, then I will give width, so as 300 pixel. I will give height as 150 pixel. Width and height we are adjusting. We will change the background color, background color yellow, like this background color we defined. Okay. Observe, initially it is red and it is background yellow. Now I am defining color for text as some black. Okay. Then font size as 40 pixel. Okay. Left as 200 pixel. And the top, so I define top as 0 pixel only. Top is not changing. Okay. Top is 0 pixel. And position we defined as absolute. Position is absolute position. So, and transition duration 2 seconds. And transition delay is 5 seconds. Observe carefully. Transition delay 5 seconds on hover. What does that means? Observe carefully now. What does that means? Currently we have this object. Now when I move the mouse onto it, when I move the mouse pointer onto it, it will not start animation immediately. You keep the mouse pointer for 5 seconds on it, then it will start. It will not start immediately. You keep the mouse pointer onto it 5 seconds. After 5 seconds, it will start. Then it will resume. That means it will not start immediately. Generally, if I give transition delay as 1 second, transition delay 1 second, when I move the mouse pointer onto it, then it will start immediately. It should start immediately. It should go back immediately. But I want to wait for few seconds and then start. Then you can delay the time. You can say 5 seconds. That means it will wait for 5 seconds. It will wait for 5 seconds and it will move. So that is the transition duration and delay. Duration means how much time it has to take to finish it. But delay means how much time it should take to start it. So that means immediately start or you want a delay start. That you can decide by using delay. We have another option actually. Another option is you have transition property. You have transition property. Generally, what is transition property? Actually, transition property means currently what you are changing. See, I am changing a lot of things. When mouse is over, I am changing the width, I am changing the height, I am changing the background color, so from red to yellow, and I am changing the color from black to white, white to black, right? And the pixels, so 20 pixel the font size. So that means I am changing that. So and I am configuring it here. I am changing a lot of things. But important is so you keep mouse pointer onto it 5 seconds. After 5 seconds, it will start the animation. It will not start the animation immediately. After 5 seconds, it will go there. It will define that. So that means you are changing a lot of things. You are changing the position left. You are changing the duration, transition duration. You are giving everything. But remember, what are the effects changing? Width is changing, height is changing, background, foreground color is changing, and its left position is changing. But I want to change only height and width, not others. That means currently we are affecting everything. I want to change only width and height, not others. Then what we do is generally, so when we are configuring, actually observe, I will give you in a more detailed way. So let's keep all this removed. So all these removed. Initially all these removed. So cleanly here, see, box initially have width, height and background color. On hover also we have width, height, background color. It changes to these pixels. Now what should happen is, so when you are configuring the effect here, I will give transition duration. Transition duration I will give as 2 seconds. Okay, 2 seconds it will take. Fine. Transition duration is 2 seconds. Okay. Next, I don't want to affect background color. So that means transition should not affect the background color. Only height and width should be affected. But actually background color also changed. Then you can write in this way. You can write transition property. You want to affect all or you want to affect only specific. What specific? I want to affect width and I want to affect height. That means you need to write what you want to affect. You see currently I am affecting only width and height. That means when mouse is over, it will affect only these two. It will not affect the background color. Due to that, what happens? Observe carefully. Here when I move the mouse onto it, height, width are transformed. You may see that color is changing. But remember, color is changing, but color is not transforming. Observe carefully. Color is, when I move mouse, immediately it turns to yellow. It is not transforming. Transforming means what? Red to yellow, slowly it should change. But it is not doing that. It is immediately changing. That means on mouse over, it is changing to yellow, but it is not using transition. Suppose I will put here, so transition property all. That means affect all. Then see what happens now. When I move the mouse pointer onto it, you can observe that slowly that red to yellow, it will change. Again, yellow to red, it will transform. It will not immediately change. That means it is affecting, transforming the red to yellow. So it is transforming red to yellow, yellow to red. But I say that don't transform that, only width and height. So that means width and height. That means it will affect only width and height. You see, color is immediately changed. It is not transformed. Width and height are working, but colors are immediately changing. They are not transforming because transform property can tell which effect to apply, which effect not to apply. That you can manage by using this transform. So technically transition, so you have several options. We have a transition, we have a transition delay, we have a transition duration. So we have a transition duration and you have a transition property. These are used for defining the transitions. Now we have transition timing function. What is the specialty of this timing function is, so instead of writing the effects, you have ready-made effects. You can use those ready-made effects. Instead of writing the effects, you can use ready-made effects. So those ready-made effects will apply automatically. So that means ready-made effects means that is actually transition timing function. Ready-made effects means you have a lot of ready-made effects like ease in, that is an effect. Like is out, that is an effect. Like you have steps, that is an effect. Like you have jump start, that is an effect. Like jump, and this is an effect like this. You have several effects ready-made. What is the advantage of these effects is when you apply these effects, these timing functions, when you apply the timing functions and define them, then what happens is it will you use ready-made options and show you an effect. Just like you have PowerPoint. Suppose in PowerPoint you can give animations. I hope you know that there are ready-made animation effects. Suppose I want to move from left to right, fly in, fly out, ready-made effects will be there. Suppose I am taking PowerPoint and I'm adding some text here. I want to add an animation. Currently what we are doing, we are writing left how many pixel, right how many pixel. Okay. After that you are writing duration how much time, 2 seconds. Initial delay time how much, wait for 5 seconds. Like that you are manually writing the timing. Instead of manually writing, you have ready-made effects you can apply. For example, see, I want to give some animation effects for this. Then what I can do, I can go to the animations. I can select an animation for that. You see, these are ready-made effects. So many effects are present. I select one effect. That means when I choose this effect, then what happens is it will come with that effect and it will apply that. That means the timing, the duration, everything it is having internally. You have to just choose these ready-made effects. This will save time for you. Such ready-made effects are present in CSS. That is what we can apply by using transition timing function. Transition timing function can apply those ready-made effects. Generally, how to write that, it's simple actually. What we have to do is we need to keep the option in this way. Suppose, let's see, means a simple example I will show you how we can use the ready-made effects here. Just in the temporarily in the body section, I will just give a div, and suppose I give an ID as some effect ID as effect, just like this. Okay, now here in the style we are accessing, so hash, so let's access for initially div, so div, so we will keep width is equal to 100. Okay, and height is also 100, height also 100 pixel, and background color as some red. So that is the option defined. And here I said transition 2 seconds. So actually you can write transition duration. This is shorthand way. Instead of that you can write like, okay, on div, so div hover, what should happen? On div hover, that means when mouse is over, what should happen? So width should change to 800 pixels. Which width should change to 800 pixels. That's what we have defined. Okay, that means when mouse is over, it will change to 800 pixels. That is fine. It is changing to 800 pixels. But observe here, currently we haven't added any effect. So observe carefully now when I access this. So when I move the mouse onto it, its width will change. So its width is changing. So you see the width is changing to 800 pixels. So it is changing to 800 pixels. So that is how it is affecting, it is displaying. Now the point is here it is changing the effect in this way on mouse over. I want to apply an effect for this, ready-made effect for this. So then how you can apply the ready-made effect? Just what you have to do is hash effect. So that means I want to apply some ready-made effect. What is that ready-made effect? Transition. So we are defining transition. timing function. We are using a transition timing function. So timing function. So, and what the timing function? You have ready-made functions. So you have ready-made functions. So we can use those functions. I will use the transition timing function as, suppose I defined as steps. Transition timing function as steps. I am configuring that steps. This is the steps function I am defining. And suppose inside the steps function, I defined as 10. So I defined the 10 as the number. So 10 steps, the number defined for that. Actually, what happens now? So when I move the mouse pointer onto it, now you see in 10 steps, it will increase. It will go step by step. You see, step by step, it will go. That is a ready-made effect actually. That is step by step. I don't want like steps. I can just keep this as, you can keep 100 steps. Then if I give 100 steps or 5 steps only, so then you can see that, so it will be more. So here in 5 steps, it will complete. In 5 steps, it will complete, right? It will just use those in 5 steps. That's how it will manage. These are ready-made effects. You have a lot of ready-made effects. You have like is in, is out, is in, is out, is in, out is nothing but actually when you give is effects, what happens is it will start immediately. So that means it will start immediately, but see, it will start slowly and then catches up the speed at the end. At the end, it will catch the speed. So at the end, it will catch the speed. Slowly starts, ends fastly. Suppose I said is in, out. That means, so what happens now? It will slowly start, in the middle it will be fast, and it will slowly end. The change is very minor. So these are ready-made functions. Your wish, you can apply any ready-made function, you can configure the function for that. So these are actually called as transition timing functions. You can add the transition timing functions. How do we configure the timing and define the timing functions? So ready-made functions are available. So these ready-made functions we can easily apply for this, right? Now, once you know these transition timing functions, so that means transition, delay, duration, property, timing. Now we have one more options that is called keyframes. So these keyframes are very simple and easy for us to handle. So you can easily handle these keyframes if you have learned about animations in Flash. Flash have a keyframe animation actually. Such animations we can define here. So by using keyframes, you can write animations in CSS. You means instead of using Flash and JavaScript, you can use keyframes for creating simple dynamic animations. So how to create dynamic animations with keyframes? We have to see that. So then we can complete this concept, right? That we will see in tomorrow's session. So tomorrow it's done with CSS. We will learn animations using keyframes. Then tomorrow we are going to start with Bootstrap. So what is Bootstrap? How the Bootstrap is used? What are the things you need to know in Bootstrap? Then how we can design complex websites by using this Bootstrap. We will see some practical implementation with some examples, right? So whatever CSS we learned with the Bootstrap combination, we will make it better in designing the presentations. So first, tomorrow we will see these keyframes. So, and we will start with Bootstrap tomorrow itself, right? Tomorrow session, we will work with animations in CSS, okay? Right.